Here we go. Can you hear me now? Put a thumbs up if you can. Sorry about that. Funny Logitech technology. All good. Great. Sorry about that, guys. Just been a mad rush this afternoon trying to get everything prepared for the live stream. It's completely crazy. So tonight we're just going to carry on with the Orc tutorial, Orc time lapse or modeling. And you guys, if you want to ask me any questions about anything, just chuck them in the chat. I can have a look and talk about stuff. It's just going to be a nice chilled evening again. I'm wearing earbuds tonight, so trying to get rid of those over ear ones because it just burns my ears after a while. So hopefully this will be good. Just grab some music because I am completely. There you go. Now, cool. This is. I'm sorry, I'm a bit flustered, completely flustered. Yeah, let me just run through some stuff first. So if you want, you can become a YouTube member, and you'll be able to grab all the previous archives, live streams, and there's some other stuff in there as well, specifically for the members. There's by Patreons. If you want to become a Patreon, you'll be able to get models, brushes, videos, and also exclusive tutorials as well. And I've also got an online store. You can see, you can just go into the description box below. You'll be able to grab them all there. Yeah, so let's just jump into ZBrush. Enough waffling. Oh, let me just present. I told you it's just not working tonight. There we go. Whew. Right. Let me put me up the top here. That's better. Oh, wait, it's a Photoshop layout. There you go. Cool. So let me just have a look at the comments quick. Cool. Project 09 says, "Love your content, so inspiring." Thank you very much. Just trying to inspire people, as you say. Got some stuff to do on this thing though. I really want to get this thing done sooner rather than later. So let's have a look. Where did we end off last time? We created the beard, the hair, or just like blocked out geometry for the beard and the hair, and also the side pieces here and the straps for what would be the belt that goes along there, the sash. Some extra features. Quite close to actually getting this done. So there's just these extra items that I just want to add a bit more detail to, because just having a sort of bust that is boring to look at, it's not very good. So if you have, I haven't got the references up. Let me just get the references up. Sorry. There you go. So we're kind of replicating this sort of orc at the moment. Like I mentioned, the fact that we're adding more onto it now is just going to give it more character, you know. So that's the sort of thing I'm going for with this character, with this design, is to add more character than I normally would with my time-lapse videos. So let's see if we can get this done. I've got a question here from Project 09. How do you speed sculpt so fast and make content from ZBrush almost day week? I just don't have a life, I guess you could say. No, I started the sort of speed sculpt stuff during lockdown, and started to record my sculpting during lockdown, and it was just a way for me to, I don't know, try something different. I've always been asked, you know, from my previous sculpts, I should go on YouTube and show people how I do it and all that sort of thing. It actually kicked off quite well on YouTube, actually. So I was pretty impressed with that. I think the biggest one was 600,000 views in a matter of weeks, which is crazy. I didn't realize people were that interested in it, to be honest. So I've just been doing it. And now my main goal for this channel at the moment is to hit the 100,000 mark. subscribers, so I can tick that off my to-do list of things to do. It should be great to have that plaque as well from YouTube, just as an achievement, basically. But how do I speed sculpt so fast? I don't know. I try to keep it. Keep from making things too complicated, like sculpting something that's very complicated. I would rather sculpt something that is less complicated but has a detailed look, or more detailed, than to sculpt something that's really complicated and trying to get that really fine detail. Like, you know, when you see someone sculpting a mech or a fully armored character from World of Warcraft, like the Spork bust, but completely sculpted and with all the sashes and the weapons and the armor. It's too much, and I try to keep it less, to do that less than I would, because I can do that stuff. I do that stuff for my day job anyway, and I prefer to do things in this environment sort of just to, for myself, basically, and also to inspire others, obviously. But yeah, it's try to keep if you can concentrate on certain key areas or a certain thing rather than try to do everything all at once, you'll probably be able to get away with it. Says Project 9 says, cool, I follow you on LinkedIn and always see your new arts very consistently. Yes, yeah, I try to just keep it consistent, really. I'd like to do this full time, teach and sculpt full time, but I just don't have the time because I actually have a job as well in the industry, so that's kind of a bit of an issue. But it's good for a side piece, like a side sort of hustle or side learning, I guess you'd say. Cool. So before I hit the shoulder pad here, I'm just going to sort of look at the beard and the hair pieces now. So I'm going to show this off here. So the idea when I do hair, because I don't like doing hair, I typically try to do characters without hair because it's one of those things that if you do it well, it'll look great. But if you do it not so well, it's going to be the major thing that people will remember that sculpt for, or remember that piece for. And so hair is very difficult to do right. And I think a lot of concept artists who do use sculpting in 3D would prefer to do the hair, unless it's a stylized character, would prefer to do the hair inside of Photoshop and paint it in rather than sculpt it. Now, it's not to say that they won't sculpt a base for the hair, so some sort of base texture for the hair on their character, and then take it into Photoshop and overlay it with images and paintbrushes to make it look more realistic. But it is something that's very difficult to do in ZBrush. You'd have a groom artist, or you take it into another program, create alpha planes and hair planes and stuff like that, or using grooming programs. Something like in Maya, they have a grooming program in there so they can get the hair made. Takes time. Takes a long time. You could use fiber mesh. I know someone's going to say it in the chats sooner rather than later, but you can use fiber mesh in ZBrush, but it doesn't give a very good result when rendering using ZBrush. So I would tend to stay away from it. Now, some people will say it gives a good enough result. Okay, fine. That's not for everyone, and I haven't found a technique yet, or research a technique yet, to do it well inside of ZBrush. And bearing in mind, I'm using ZBrush 2022, not Maxim's ZBrush, which has a rendering. It renders with Redshift as well, built in. So they probably have something there that they can use for hair rendering better. But so my whole sort of attack on hair inside of ZBrush is just to give it some resemblance of hair, and take it into Photoshop and touch it up later. But for this one, so I actually bought a brush, and I'll just get the link for it. I'll put it in the chat. This is the one that I use the most for my hair sculpting. So if you copy and paste that into the chat, into your web browser, I'll just bring it over. You'll get this brush here. So this is from Vladimir Silkin. And basically, he's created a hairbrush that looks like hair. It's much more stylistic, but it can look really good when you sculpt it. And you just get all these VDM brush hairs, I guess you'd say. And they work really well, actually. So you can see you've got clumps, clumps. And you'll be able to, sorry about that. You'll be able to use this brush to create the sort of the hair forms on your character. So you can see he started off just like I have, with a base model on the character. So he's not just adding hair onto the model. First thing you want to do is you want to sculpt a base mesh for the fur to sit on, and then use the brushes to actually sculpt that hair geometry. So we'll just close that quickly. Cool. So coming back to this one, R1, I'm just going to hide shoulder pads real quick, because they might get in the way. And what I'll do is I'll start off with the beard. And as you can see from last week, we actually added some of that form that the other guy has for the brush, or tells us to do for the brush. And the first thing I want to do is just come out to geometry. And what I'm going to do is ZBrush it. I'm going to turn off symmetry. Actually, it's symmetrical, so we can leave symmetry on. Normally, you want to do is you want to have asymmetry, especially for hair, because it's very noticeable when you sculpt it. But we'll just ZBrush it with symmetry on for now. And I'm just going to bump this up to 15 and ZBrush. I'm not too picky about good topology, as long as there's some topology that looks good and there's enough topology for the brush to come out, for the hair sort of brushes to work properly. So I'm just going to subdivide this a couple of times. So I'll hit about 1.8 million polygons. And I've already loaded the brush in. So you got 3 types of brushes plus a 4th one, which is clumps, but I haven't downloaded that one yet. So you got 3 types of brushes here. You got the Fur L VDM, the Fur M VDM, and the Fur S VDM. And they all do different things. I tend to start with the Fur M VDM more. And as you can see, you just get a small selection of fur textures. All I do now is, starting at the base, I think it's best to start at the base and then work your way up, because the way this brush works is, if you do a hair follicle at the top here, and then you do one at the bottom here, it's pushing against the one at the top. So it's better to do it from the bottom. I believe it's better to do it from the bottom, and then drag, and then sort of build it up slowly to the top, rather. And don't forget to change the hairbrush. You don't want to have the same pattern all the time. Let me just grab a quick question here from Tomoro. How do you get on with fiber mesh? I quite like some of the results I get, especially for fur, but really need to work on sculpting hair properly. Yeah, I don't tend to go for fiber mesh too much. If I was to use fiber mesh for anything, I think it would be for basic spikes, and I don't know, the brushes just never seem to do what I want them to do. I haven't really dived into it that much, so I would say I should stay away from it for now. Like I mentioned, I'd use this technique rather. It's quicker as well for me, just to add some really basic hair follicles in using a VDM brush rather. So you can see just going around, just putting random hair. Now, of course, you would probably do this with a lot more finesse, but I'm just going to do this really quickly. I'm actually going to do the asymmetry in the middle here, and then just have symmetrical on each side, rather. You can slowly start to build up some sort of texture on your character. If you feel like you've got some ugly geometry, just use a smooth brush very quick, very softly to smooth it out a bit. Don't worry about any flyaways or anything, because it could give your character some more interesting shapes and stuff like that. I mean, this brush is an absolute time saver as well. So you got one here from Project 09. Marcus very well paints in Photoshop, so he enhances the hair later in the render steps with this said. Are you, Marcus, an illustrator? Because you paint very well in Photoshop. Where do you learn the skill? I'm not actually an illustrator. I'd love to be an illustrator. I would actually like to do, you know how you, I don't know if you've seen the books or covers for like Warhammer 40k or sort of Dungeons and Dragons card work and stuff like that. I would love to do that stuff rather than 3D, to be honest. I just haven't found time to learn to paint like that. There is an artist actually that I follow. I'll just try and find him real quick. I'll show you his sort of paint style that I like, really like, because it's sort of abstract and the brush strokes are just absolutely amazing. Where is he? Yeah, here we are. See that? Let me just hide that. This guy, and Nato Binstark. I hope that's right. This guy, I absolutely love this guy's work. He is amazing at what he does, and the way he paints is just, it's just beautiful. These brushes he has and the way he uses the sort of tones and stuff like that, it's just amazing. I would rather do this stuff and make a living off painting than do 3D art, to be honest. But you could see his sort of artwork is very, very, stylized, but also has a hint of abstract and just the colors as well. It's just amazing. I forgot that there was a little bit of, naughtiness on that website, so hopefully the YouTube won't see that. But yeah, that's the sort of thing I would prefer to do rather. I also try to incorporate that sometimes into my that sort of style, and also painterly style into the final sculpts. If we just have a look at the orc references again. Where are they? Oh, they're here. If we just have a look at the orc references again, as I mentioned before, the best techniques that I like to sort of go with is the ones from the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, that sort of thing. The way that they render it could even be just a grey render of the character, and then they take it into Photoshop and they paint over the top and make it look really nice in Photoshop. I would prefer doing this sort of thing than doing full-on 3D stuff. More of a mixture of Photoshop than ZBrush. But I haven't got around to learning that technique very well just yet, so maybe in the future. Right, so let's just carry on adding some of these. And as we get closer to the middle, I think I'll just start to break up the symmetry. Now you don't have to worry too much about what's going on underneath here, because you'll never see that when we do the renders. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, especially for like a concept piece, you know. Right, let's just break this up now. I'm just gonna add the kind of broke my rule there. I should have started at the bottom here. Forgot. Yeah. You can see very quickly we can get some good looking results without having to worry too much about building the hair structures or anything like that. I tell you, if you use that link and you go and grab the brushes, like this brush, you will always have really cool looking sculpts for it. Cool. So let's say that that's the beard done. Now I'm just going to use the move brush and make sure symmetry's on. I'm just going to shape it a little bit on the sides, because at the moment it's sort of flying out the sides. And just do a little bit of shape work. And I'm just going to grab the fur S now. Now the fur S works more like a stamp of hair, so it doesn't actually pull the geometry too much. And this is great for using on the edges like this, and sort of blending them into the skin a bit more. Or you can use it for the in-between parts where you might have missed it. There we are. And if you really want to, you can also add that to the actual model, just along the edges here. You can add some hair so that it sort of blends it a little bit better. I'm going to undo those quick and choose a different brush. This one here. So just along these edges. But that's totally up to you. You know, it's totally up to you if you want to do that. Just makes it look a little bit more blended, I guess you could say. Cool. Now, I'm going to move on to the top of the head now. So we got the hair at the top. The hair at the top, I think, is split into two pieces. No, it's actually one piece. But you could split this into two pieces. You could have the skull cap and then the hair at the back here. That's what you would normally do if you're trying to do like image plates, hair cards. You would actually maybe have the geometry as hair and a couple of flyaways for hair cards going towards the back into this knot, and then in this knot you'll have a bunch of hair cards coming out to make it look like sort of long hair. But we don't have to worry too much about that because we're going to be using these brushes here instead. So let's just grab this geometry here, come over to ZRemesh again. I'm just going to ZRemesh this again. Take a swig of coffee whilst I wait. There we are. All right, gonna change the music. Right, so let's have a look. We have this, so we're just going to subdivide this a couple of times. Now, because the hair is kind of pulled really close to the sort of scalp as it's pulled, pulled back, we could use these brushes and just use like this, and just make sure that the hair follicles are flowing backwards. It might not be ideal to use these brushes, but we just use them for now because, easier. I'm just going to mask out this area here because it's affecting that piece there as I sculpt. And just add a few smaller clumps. And turn off symmetry. Do a couple asymmetrical things, the hair strands at the back and the front here. There we are. And now I'm just going to push this underneath those knots. And then what I'll do is I'll grab the dam standard and just along the edges here with the Alpha 47, my go-to brush, brush alpha for this, I'm just going to sculpt in would look like, make it look a little bit more like strands. It also breaks up this very boring looking, what do you call it, hairline as well. So here we are. Again, I'm not going for too much neatness because, as I mentioned before, a lot of this will be fixed inside of Photoshop. And on symmetry, just to get this done quicker. Also, I'm not worried about too much about what's going on in the back here either, as it's going to be mostly from the front. You'll see it. And I'm just going to use the inverse of the dam standard now. So pull out some of these hair follicles. Will give the illusion of it as well. There we are. That'll do. Now, you could possibly take this a little bit further and give it some real character by making some flyaway hairs, hair follicles. So if you go into your brush menu here, and we have insert. No, it's not insert. It's C for curve. You can get these curve alphas, or that you can use for hair. There is one. I think there's one like a single tube or something. I can't find it now. Is it the tube curve? You could use a tube curve as well. Let's do that. Now, you will have to actually have a geometry that has no subdivision levels. So if we come in here, we duplicate this model, and we hide the clean version at the top. I'm just going to come down to the geometry unmask, and I'm just going to delete the high res. So it has no subdivision levels. And I'm just going to draw out a tube. And that looks a bit funky. So what we can do is come over to stroke, curve, and let's have a look at these functions we got here. Modifiers, curve cutoff. So we're going to make it quite big at the beginning, and then it's going to slowly go down or to a point at the end. And we use the size for this one. And I think that's about it. So if we tap this now, yeah, that's better. So we're now getting a thicker root and then a sort of skinnier end. I think that root's still a little bit too big, so I'm just going to make it smaller. Come out, tap on it again. There we go. We have ourselves a hair follicle. Now we can also change the depth of this. Just move the reference out the way. Now come over to the brush, come down to depth, wherever that is. There it is. And I'm just going to push it a little further into the head for the next one we do. But essentially, that's what we can do with that hair follicle, and we can also manipulate it. If we use the curve function of lock the start, so it's going to lock that starting point that we drew out first, and so now we can manipulate this hair follicle however we like. And I think I'm just going to lay it down. Forwards like that, and then I'm going to draw another one. So draw another one here. You don't have to follow the same direction, but we are. And then when I'm happy with that, I can unmask everything, use Control Shift, tap on the main hair piece, come over to Subtools and Split Hidden. So now these two pieces are separate to this piece. I can turn this one back on, the good version of the hair. And now I can manipulate these even further by just sticking them so they look like they're coming from the hair on the head there. Using the move brush, just gonna manipulate a bit more. So you can do that as well. You can actually build this up like loads, like you have loads of follicles. Now that we have these two follicles, you can even duplicate these, scale them down, and just push them one side, rotate them slightly, and use the move brush to change the look of it a bit more. And you got yourself two new follicles there. And you can do this for the entire piece around the hair here, just looking for flyaways. You can even do it for flyaways up here. So Add a few flyaways in here. Yeah, something like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add those flyaways inside of Photoshop. So I don't really need these. I just wanted to show you the technique and how you could do it. So I'm just going to delete these for now, and we'll add them later on inside of Photoshop. I'm going to delete this piece as well, and I'm going to change the music because it's getting on my nerves. If anyone's got any more questions, just let me know. Don't be shy. This is not a tutorial at all. This is just me sculpting and talking you through the process of what I'm doing. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat. All right, let's tackle this big piece here. We're going to use a medium version brush for this and turn symmetry on. Just going to see how this looks, because sometimes it won't look good, sometimes it will. I'm just going to quickly do some sculpting. Is that going to look all right? Or was that too weird, maybe? Just sculpt. Now it's coming out the side there, is it? Oh. Got to be very careful when you have topology that's very thin. The brush for VDMs can go through the end of it. You just need to be careful, a bit careful how you place these. See, we're affecting this piece here now, so we're just going to undo until we get a cleaner piece, and I'm just going to mask out that back piece and just reapply these. No, it's going to be messy now. Grab the smaller brush for this. I'm not too worried about what it looks like at the back anyway, because when we see it from the front, we'll see it from about this angle here. So, and I'll be cleaning it up inside Photoshop anyway. All right, that's going to do it. There's one more brush we haven't looked at, which is the large scale brushes, and these ones actually pull the geometry down more. So these are very difficult brushes to use. You have to turn the intensity up, obviously. So these actually affect the ends of the geometry, so you just need to be careful how you use these ones. It's messy in the back here. Maybe if we use back face masking is turned on. Never mind. Yeah, like I mentioned, not too worried about the back here. I think it's more important that we have a good looking piece from around this angle here. think that'll look good. Cool. All right. Well, that's the hair done. Well, I say done. You could still come in if you really wanted to clean it at the back here. Just come in with a with the dam standard and smooth. Come in and it's messy. Anyway, let's just move on to the bandages at the top here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to subdivide these a few times. Actually, let's merge these down. All these down together. Actually, let's do it separately because you might want to isolate it. So I'm just going to subdivide these a couple of times. I'm going to get the standard brush out and solo it. Now, because it's just a concept, it doesn't matter too much that there's not a hole here for the hair to go through. This is just for aesthetics, really. What I'm just doing is using the standard brush, and I'm just pushing in the middle of this sort of scrunchy type thing. And it just gives that look of tightness to it. And I'm just going to move the hair so it's not poking through. There we are. Got one from Jose. Ooh. A question from Jose, and he says, 1 second. Is it okay in your portfolio if they are stylized and let's say realistic characters mixed, or just one way should be mastered? I don't think there's a problem with having stylized and realistic. I think if you're looking for a studio work, I think it's best to point your portfolio towards the sort of things they do in their studio. So if you go on their website and you see the kind of games they make, so if you, let's say, go for World of Warcraft, and you see a lot of World of Warcraft stuff, with the game sort of character art, point your work towards that sort of work. If you're dead set on trying to get a World of Warcraft studio, it's not a bad idea to have realism as well as stylized, but focus on one that you want to do the most, I would say. So if you really want to do stylized, do stylized, but also on the side for practice pieces, have some realism in there as well. If you really want to do realistic stuff, but you kind of dabble in the stylized stuff, then, you know, switch it over. So you do more realistic stuff and keep the stylized stuff to as part of your work in progress or your adventure into, you know, a different medium. Yeah, that's what I would do anyway. If I was trying to get a job in the industry, I would do that. Point it towards the sort of studio's look that they're looking for, art, you know, art-wise. Oh, I'm just gonna unmask that. Cool. Let's just do these few here. 3, 4. I'll get the standard brush out again, and I'm just gonna again push that center in. Like that. And do the same thing for this one, even though you don't see it, so we don't have to worry too much about it. It's just have it poking out a bit, so we just push it in a bit. Finally, this one. Pull it out a bit. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I think that'll do for that. You could go along and fray the edges a bit more with the detailing. You could do that using a, well, it's not fraying, but it's giving some detail to it. So you can use some alpha maps just to add some detail in here. Just see, let's do this real quick. Let's do that. Flip that. I wonder how this is going to look. A bit weird. So like a leathery type band, maybe. I don't know. Just gives it a bit more interesting sort of look to it rather than just plain. And then what you could do is grab a standard brush, just go along the edges here. Yeah, you could do that. Like frayed edges, maybe just think about it. Maybe, I don't know. It could look all right. Just pull these down a bit. Let's have a look at the chat quick. One from Joseph asking, what kind of character was your first assignment in the industry? Oh, bloody hell. That's a tough one. I think I got it. 1 second. Let me just have a quick look on my art station. I think I have it on my art station. Let me just have a quick look. All the way down the bottom, I reckon. I think this was it. So he did it. I did a game, or helped make a game in Germany, in Good Game Studios. Yeah, and it was this thing called Heroes Realm, and these are the basic sort of characters that I helped create. So we kind of got a character every 2 weeks to have to build one every 2 weeks. It was very much like a conveyor belt characters that we had to design and create in about 2 weeks. And this is all hand painted stuff in 3D coat. So it's my first ever sort of industry characters that I did. You can see there's quite a lot going on here. Some of the variants as well, doing some variants. It's actually a really cool game, and it's a really cool team that I work with. Unfortunately, the studio at the time had to lay off a load of people, and unfortunately, we were part of the layoff. So I was only there for about 6 months, and I wish I was there for a little longer. But at the time as well, people were just leaving quite a lot because of the situation of the studio, and so yeah, I left. I came back here to England, and then I moved on to another game studio. But this was the first one I worked on these little characters you can see here. Yeah, really interesting stuff as well. Really interesting way of making characters. It's like miniatures, you know, how you paint them like little miniatures, but using 3D instead. One there from Joseph again saying, "You made full pipeline, please." I didn't make the pipeline. I joined the team and they had a pipeline. So it's always good to have a pipeline when it comes to characters, especially for the industry. You don't want to go into a studio, or you don't want to start something without having a good idea of how we can work with this for multiple characters. And that was a mobile phone game as well. So it was just churning characters out left, right, and center. I mean, I was one of, I want to say 5 or 4. No, I want to say 4 character artists, and each one had a sort of, I think it was 3 enemies, 2 heavies, and a queen. It was a queen. It was called the queen. It was basically the boss, the enemy boss. So that's, everyone had those to do, and so yeah, we all had quite a bit to do really. But it was good. The environment was really good as well. A really nice team. I'm just gonna finish these off quick. Yeah, not paying too much attention to the wraps, unfortunately, at the top here. Just trying to get something interesting going on. There we are. I think that looks all right. Detail this one in here a bit. Yeah, just a few lines. Screw it. Right. Cool. So that's the hair, facial hair, and the hair on his head done. So let's move on now. That's time. 9:22. Okay. If you got more questions, please let me know, because I mean, you know, this is the time to ask questions on this live stream, because Mondays are normally the tutorials. So let me just change the music again. Right. So I'm going to do one shoulder pad tonight. Just going to show you a technique that I'm currently using in the studio that I'm working in. Again, I am not a hard surface modeler. I am more of an organic modeler. So these techniques might look a bit weird for people who are probably better at hard surface than I am. I do not do hard surface that much inside of ZBrush. I am learning, but it is alien, let's just say, for me anyway. So last week, we kind of blocked out the design of on the shoulder pad here using a very organic technique. But if you want to actually get really nice hard surfaces, if I bring back the reference quick, if you want to get really good hard surfaces as well as cleaner surfaces to work on, then we need to somehow take this organic looking shoulder pad and make it look hard surface inside ZBrush. So kind of went through YouTube, found a technique to do. Doing this, it's a few more steps than if you did the shoulder pad all inside of ZBrush in hard surface, or geometric shapes, but it still gets you the same kind of results. Let's have a look. So the first thing I want to do is grab the paintbrush. And now that we have our shape and we're happy, make sure that you're happy with your shape and it's got some clean sort of strokes. It's all clean, basically, as much as possible. Because what we're going to do next is going to determine whether or not it's going to look good or not when it comes to the hard surface part. And this is all me just going by eyeball, so bear with me with this. So I'm going to make sure the paintbrush is on the black. It's set to focal shift is set to -100, which is strong. So it's a nice strong brush stroke. You don't want to have any gray matter. You want to have it as dark as possible, because when we get to the point where we're polygrouping by polypaint, we don't want to have any gaps in here. Like you would if you were inside of Photoshop. You'd have, if you did a pencil drawing and you have those few pixels that aren't touchy, and then you flood it with a bucket, right? Like a with a color, and it goes through the pencil outline, because you haven't outlined it 100%. It's exactly what happens here with this sort of technique as well. It won't recognize the polygroups. So just make sure when you're doing this that your brush is set to 100% black, as well as in the brush set here. Just move this over to the side quick. Just make sure that you're, where is it again? Cabinet pressure. Cabinet pressure? No. Trying to find where the auto masking? No. It's tablet pressure. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's tablet pressure. Yeah, sorry, it's this one. Tablet pressure under brush mod or RGB intensity. Just make sure that you have this set to the top as well, so it's just filled with the color when you paint it. It makes it so there's no drop off in color. I'm just going to paint this along these seams, or what will become the seams, and we just go around the whole thing. Like this. Line in there. Just change that song for a second. So I'm just gonna quickly draw this out, and then I got a question from Joseph. Let's finish this quick. Here we are. Okay, let's have a quick question. Joseph asking, maybe personal question, but would you do teaching as your main job, like one-on-one coaching, etc.? I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind doing that. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. I've already done it once before for my university I used to go to. I went back and I showed the up-and-coming game studio students how to sculpt something inside of ZBrush and render inside of Photoshop. It was a 2-day course, so it was a bit intense. I think it went over their heads quite a bit, especially because I tend to talk very quickly. But if it is a one-to-one course teaching, and they knew exactly what they wanted from the course, then yeah, because I mean, ZBrush is a very broad. It's very broad when you think of, or 3D in general. It's a very broad subject. It's not like, you know, just create a character and use this and do that. You have to learn other things that can affect character you're designing. So, for instance, if you're creating a character for a game, you need to know how topology works, as well as maybe the basics of rigging character, so that when you're working with a rigging artist, you'll know what they want before they want it, because you'll know how exactly how to position hands or position legs, or what, you know, mouth, face, T pose, A pose. You know, you sort of need to know a little bit about those things as well. And then there's other stuff as well that you need to learn, not just how to sculpt the character. Sculpting the character is very important, but knowing how to do it properly takes quite a bit of time. But I am not opposed to teaching one-on-one coaching when I can find some time to do it. There's a lot of stuff in my life that I need to sort of sort out before I can do that sort of thing, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I wouldn't mind doing that. Cool. So now that we have the shoulder pad lined out with our pen, we can turn on the line wireframe with the color. In fact, yeah, you need the wireframe as well. So the next thing you need to do, I believe, I cannot remember 100%. There is a button in the C plugin called Polygroup It. And what you want to do is you want to come down to polygroup it from paint. So it's going to look at your model, and it's going to look at where your paint is on your model, and wherever there's a paintbrush stroke, it'll try to group whatever's on the inside of that. You see? Let me just show you how it goes. So if you come in here, click on the wireframe, make sure you can see the colors, and just hit polygroup from paint. And now we have polygroups from paint, and these are the individual islands now. So if I turn off the line, you can see we have individual islands, which is great. Now we can come down to the, well, first thing we want to do is you want to go to deformation. This is what I'm doing, so take this with a pinch of salt. I am not 100% a what do you call it, a hard surface modeler, so this is just me saying how I do this technique. So what I do next is polish by these. You want to use these features here, so polish by features, polish by polygroups. All it's doing is cleaning up these lines around here on the inside. And when I was doing a bit of a test of this, and I went to ZBrush, I dropped the ZBrush, keep the creases, detect the edges, and keep groups. It's important to keep the groups because that's going to help you with the hard surface stuff later. I'm also going to turn down the adaptive sizing. Don't want that. It's going to make it smooth. It's going to make it less smooth. And when I clicked on this before, it told me there was an error in remeshing. So I'm going to do it again, see what happens. But yeah, let me just save this first, because you never know what ZBrush will do, because it loves to throw curveballs at you. So I'll just save that. I'm just going to hit C remesh and see what happens quick. Just looking at the top here at the little loading icon at the top. Yep, same thing. Remesh error occurred. Sucks, but so it's not going to use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on what I've found is if I click on the legacy 2018 version. Now remember we're using ZBrush 2022. if I click on the Legacy 2018 version and then I ZBrush, it actually works. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, cool. So it does. It works, you see. And try to keep the geometry. Unfortunately, it's not done a very good job with the sort of cleanliness of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to undo that, bump up the polygon count, hit ZBrush again. Question here from Harvey. Harvey 25. Really sick design, man. Although the clavicle placement looks a bit off, it may need another look at. Love your work. Oh, thank you. I'll have a look into that. Yeah, still broken. What I think is happening is I need to have the adaptive on. So yeah, I don't know this technique very well. Kind of learning it still. That's cleaner. There's no holes, or barely any holes. Let's see what we can do with this. Close backups. Let's do something else. Let's go to crease the borders. So it's going to find all these polygroup borders and crease them. And I'm going to ZBrush. And turn off Legacy. ZBrush again, because now it will work, you see, or it should work. Yeah, it doesn't work. That sucks. Let's just turn Legacy back on and try again. When I do it with Legacy, but at a very low topology, like resolution count, and then I switch it back to ZBrush, it works. See? Crazy. All right. Well, let's just say that is good for now. What I want to do next is just go crease and crease by borders again. So we've got these creases, and then come down to deform. And what I want to do is polish by crisp edge, and just keep pulling the slider until I'm happy with the sort of overall look of it. Again, I'm not looking for perfect topology. I'm just looking for something that will work for the sculpt that we're doing. And what I wanted to do next, which is pull out this geometry along here, would only kind of work with good topology, if you know what I mean. And I'm just going to creep by features. I want it really clean before I go any further. Maybe we can even drop the polygon count further. So go to ZBrush, remesh it again, see what happens. It comes up with the error again. I don't know why that does it. Yeah, still does it. Oh, my life. Let's turn Legacy back on again. Turn that off, turn it on again. Yeah, see, it works then. I don't know what's going on. If anyone knows, please let me know in the chat, because I'm out of my wit here, out of my league here with this stuff. Information, features, okay. So that's how I would go about cleaning that topology. The shoulder pad, and now we can actually using this topology. In fact, I think I have one that I did before the stream started, which is a bit cleaner. So it's the same technique, just a little cleaner. So you can see I got a nice result using the same techniques I used. And what I want to do is come in here and just move this reference out the way. So I'm going to use a Z modeler brush. Hit spacebar to bring up the menu for it, the sub menu for it. And I want to single polygon. I want to paint polygroup by single polygon, and just go around the edges. Of this. Now this might be completely wrong and a bit more of a pain in the bum to do. And if anyone else has a better method, again, just add it in this panel. Yeah. And now what I can do is hit in spacebar on the face, not on the edge, not on the vertice, but on the face. I'm just going to extrude polygroup by polygroup all. So all the polygroups that are that yellow will now extrude upwards. And then I'm just going to come over to geometry and where's it? Crease again. And what you can also do is go into dynamic subdivision and have a look at how it will look. Dynamic subdivision. Of course, it's going to be weird going on here because there's just one polygroup going around here, which you can do. So this kind of like it's like a demo of what you can achieve, what is going to happen when you subdivide. So that's what that dynamic subdivision is. That's what I use it for anyway. So what you can do is hovering over the line, just go to crease and crease edge, and just crease those edges by hand. The only other way you can do it is to group those individual parts, like individual areas, or you could also change the polygroups using the adjustments inside of the brush, but I just found this is a little quicker for me. And now that if we do this, you'll see it holds its structure a lot better. All right, so unhide. Now you can see we've got this sort of structure going on, and we can now just move this around a little bit so it's a little bit more equal. And yeah, that's going to work pretty well. Let's chat quick. Got one here from Christian Alexandro or Christo. Hi Marcus, love your work, man. Very inspiring and nice walk, by the way. Oh, thank you very much, and thank you for admiring my work. Cool. So now that we know how it's going to look when it's subdivided, we can go ahead. In fact, before we do that, I'm just going to add a bevel around the edge, the outer edge and the inner edge of this. So if we go back to our Z modeler and we hover over the, what do you call it, the line, there you go. We go to bevel, and we can do either poly loop, partial, or complete. I'm just going to do the edge loop complete for this one on the outside. And you basically just click and drag and it will make a nice bevel for you. It's not essential, but it helps to speed things up a bit. Otherwise you have to go in there with the trim dynamic and try and make a perfect bevel along the edges, but I guess if it's an orc, it doesn't have to have perfect bevel either. And I'm just going to move this point out a little bit on each side. To clean it up. There we are. Again, crease this. And come in with the crease brush again. It's a lot of back and forth. I'm sorry about that. It's a lot of back and forth. I know people just want to see see this thing finished and move on to the next thing. There we are. Cool. Let's just check the dynamic. Yeah, it's going to look good. Cool. Let's turn off dynamic and divide. And I don't want to have the crease on there all the time. I just want to sort of subdivide it with the crease on until those edges have some sort of structure with the topology to hold it. So the crease is just holding it in place until you sort of, it's like a temporary edge loop. If you put an edge loop next to another edge loop, its structure will hold better if you subdivide. Crease is kind of like a temporary edge loop. So once you have enough topology in those areas, you can actually come down to the crease button and uncrease all. Where is it? There. And now you can see when you subdivide again, it tries to hold that structure a lot better. Just going to undo that and undo again, and then just check these creases are in. I'm just going to subdivide once more, and then I'm going to uncrease it, and then subdivide again. That should be a lot better. That's one of them done. I think what I'll do is I'll leave the other one and just do it off screen in my own time, and then next time we come back to the sculpt, you'll see the other one done. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of faff, and it's just, you know, I haven't got that much time to do that sort of thing. So once we've done that, then we can come in with the trim dynamic. Just grab the reference quick. Obviously, there are some extra parts to this model. So you've got these extra bits down here that are clamping onto the sort of shoulder pad. We can do those later. We don't have to worry about that. I just want to try and get the overall design on the underneath created. So using trim dynamic, I'm now going to destroy what I just did and feel a lot of shame because, you know, it's not supposed to be clean. So I'm just going to come in here and break apart the cleanliness of these edges, pry into my soul because of all that hard work I just did. Try to get that clean edge. Just going around with the trim dynamic, and just breaking up that edges. So it looks like more like battered metal than sci-fi. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I am taking questions tonight. Should have a ticker tape at the bottom saying please add your chat or a question to the chat, otherwise it's just silent. There we are. Grab the trim adaptive, and this is kind of a special brush. Sort of, it can break your model very quickly and very easily, but it can also give you some really nice results. It is probably best to not use it too heavily. I don't know. Right. I think I got a comment about the. 1 second. Oh, bloody hell. Right. Yeah, there's a comment about the collarbone placement of it. Let's just have a look at that quick. I think maybe it's because it's a bit over dramatic, and it's also pushing upwards rather than maybe downwards, as you can see from this one. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that. We could use a move brush, move it slightly, so it's a bit flatter. But kind of committed to it now. Good idea. Good thing to point out, though. I get kind of sculpt blind when you're doing these things all the time. But yeah. Got one from Joseph saying, I think you're doing hard surface great as well. Will you add Master Chief in your long videos on Patreon? Yeah, I can add a vote for that. It was done last year, I believe. Was that done last year? Yeah, the Master Chief was done last year. But yeah, I could add that to the voting for that, or I could just add it as a long form video. Once I sort of make it a long form video, because it's quite a few hours, so it takes quite a while to create, but I can look into it for you. Sure. So you can see you've got a couple of spikes here as well. I think I'll add those next time. Yeah, I think I'll add those next time. And what I'm going to do is clean up these two shoulder pads, because it's the same, essentially the same technique as the top one we just did. So what I'll do is I'll clean up the other shoulder pad to the same sort of look, and then once we come back, then you'd have to worry about watching that over again. All I'll do is I'll just add the spikes next week, and take a look at the sort of front part here a bit more. The strap that's coming along here, we'll have a look at that as well, and that could be about all the sort of modeling side done for our character, for the bust of our character, and then we can move on to texturing it inside ZBrush. Sorry, my brain is going at the moment. texture inside ZBrush, and then the following week we'll render and Photoshop all in one video. And I think that'll bring it to the end for this guy. So make sure you see that one. But it's, yeah, this is a typical sort of length it would take me to do this sort of thing if I was just doing it by myself for a time-lapse video. The only difference is I'd probably be a little faster because I wouldn't be talking to chat or taking chat. So yeah. Right, I think I'm going to leave it there, guys. If you guys have any questions in the next 10 minutes, then please add them to the chat, and I'll look into it and take some chat now. Oh, I thought I'd just share with you as well. Something I've been working on for another time-lapse video. I'm going to show you quickly what I've been working on. So I got this character I'm slowly working on, and it's kind of inspired by the Justice League character, the Steppenwolf character. And I sort of found the concept artist who did the concept, and I thought, wow, I would really like to do that sort of character work, you know. So yeah, I just started to look more into the curved brush and sort of create some geometric shapes to add as an armor. It's still very early stages. I am doing this in the spare time as well. And yeah, hopefully this will be done soon for a time-lapse video so you guys can see how it's all done. I thought I'd just share that with you because I think it looks really cool at the moment. I'll just turn off the armor. I'll show you the body. So it's kind of like a demon, and I wasn't too worried about the under armor or the body, sorry, but I thought I'd take it to a good look. I was more interested about how this armor would actually fit on him, and yeah, it's coming along very nicely. There's some things I need to clean up. There's some extra pieces I'm going to add as well, but it's not too bad. Whoop, scary face right in front of us. Cool. So, that reference going. Right. What's this one? From ZYK04 says, please do a rediff of that one. A rediff? What's a rediff? Rediff? Sorry, I don't know what rediff means. Cool. Yeah, let's end this stream. So I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I know it's not like we've done much, but we've done quite a bit. We've done the hair, we've done the sort of bindings at the top here for the hair. We took a look at the shoulder pad and how to do hard surface, very basic hard surface stuff inside ZBrush. And yeah, so next time we come back to this model, the other shoulder pad will be done. There might be some detail work that I've done to the shoulder pad just to save us some more time. And we'll just finish off with the sort of leathery material down here, and then color it in that live stream. And once the coloring's done, we'll take it into the rendering. We could probably do it all in one stream. But I'll see, because there's some extra parts like these horns or sort of talons that he's got on the shoulder pad here that I might want to. I'll probably put on this one as well. So that might take some time to do as well. So we'll see. But I think another 2 live streams with this one. If you want to have a separate live stream next Thursday, it's like something completely different. If you don't want to see the work on this one finished. If you want to see or do something different, please let me know in the chat. But for now, that's pretty much it. I just want to share some stuff quick before we leave. So, oh, you can see my old sweaty face, sweaty shiny face. So, first of all, if you want, you can become a YouTube member, and I'll just get the banners out of my little banners. Yeah, so for $4.99 a month, you can become a YouTube member, and you can watch all the archive live streams for the Dragon tutorial, as well as these live streams. And there's quite a few interesting live streams on there actually for the Thursday ones. So we take a look at book covers that I've done. We take a look at portfolios from other artists as well, and I give my impression about them, which we're going to be doing again at the end of the month of March. So I'm going to start doing that on a regular basis at the end of the month. The last Thursday, I'll be doing some. We'll be doing portfolio reviews. So if you have a portfolio, you want me to have a look at it and run through with it, then please keep it until Thursday, and we can at the end of the month, and I'll take a look at it. And you can also become a Patreon member, and Patreon members get tutorials, brushes, models, 30% off online stores. They get exclusive tutorials, which are purposely made for them. So if you want to become a Patreon member, and you can get more exclusivity. Sorry. Then there's the online stores. And on my online stores, you can grab all the brushes that I've created, all the high poly models I've created for my time-lapse videos, as well as tutorials. You can grab them all on there, and yeah, plenty of stuff on there for you guys to check out. And finally, turn off that banner. I want to say a big thank you to my YouTube members that are as follows. I'm going to try doing this without making a complete hash of it. Alper Natif 35, Ganesh, Joe Lewis, Press Ritus. Oh, I'm so bad with names. Ivan Savoyne, sorry. Joseph Bonkowski, Nitze Chach, Dave Newhouse, Jace Burgoyne, and Artzer, and Matteo Selick. There we are. God, I'm bad with names. I just want to thank every single one of my members. There's some new ones in the 1 month who've just moved on to 1 month, and I want to say thank you very much for being with me for 1 month. And also my Patreons. I'm not going to go through all the tier 2, but tier 3, I have Aaron Tobman, Ganesh, Robert Backerman, Erwin Vandermine, Wayne, and Fernando Cisneros Pasos. I want to thank you all for being tier 3 Patreons, and those are the tiers. That's the tier that you get all the tutorials, exclusive tutorials. So I want to say a big thank you for joining in this live stream. I hope you've found it interesting. And yeah, I'll see you on Monday for the Dragon Sculpt tutorial, where we'll be looking at the body of our dragon. So if you haven't checked those out yet, you can become a member on my YouTube channel and check out a full tutorial live stream on how to sculpt the dragon from Dragonheart, which we're going through step by step. Great for beginners and experienced artists, but it's a step-by-step process, and I show you how to create a dragon from scratch inside ZBrush. So with that being said, I want to say, oh, we've got one comment. Yeah, so for that, I want to say have a great weekend, and yeah, stay safe. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more exclusive content and want to support my work further, then please check out my Patreon page at MLW_creative for more. Also, view past live streams you might have missed in Tier 3 tutorial support, where I will be archiving future streams moving forward. If you are interested in other full-length tutorials, brushes, and models, then check out my online stores for more useful content. I would also like to thank all my subscribers and patrons for supporting me for this long. Again, thanks for watching and stay safe.